Okay, so we're going to learn how to set up test sessions. So the test coordinator has to be able to perform the following. The test coordinator has to create a test session. The test coordinator has to edit a test session. The test coordinator has to be able to delete a test session. The test coordinator has to be able to run the accommodations and support roster or other operational reports. The test coordinator has to be able to determine which examinees to assign to a test session. The test coordinator has to be able to assign examinees to a test session. And finally, in this section, the test coordinator has to be able to know how to remove examinees from a test session. So we're now going to practice each of these items that are in the section called setting up test sessions. So we're going to do this in the training platform for ACT. So let's go ahead and do this. So I'm in the training platform. Notice it says Training ACT, and there's the name of the school. And so the first thing I want to do is I want to create a test session. You can't do anything else except, let me show you quickly, except you can run the accommodation support roster, other operational reports without having to create a test session. But all the other stuff you need to have created a test session. So let's talk about the first thing is to create a test session right here. Create a test session. So let's follow the steps in the training platform. Okay, so first thing you're going to do is you're going to go to testing, and then you're going to go to sessions. Very simple, right? Sessions. I want to create a session, so I'm going to go to sessions. And then when you go to sessions, it's still turning. You are then going to see all the sessions that you've created. But I want to create a new one, right? So I want to create a new test session. So I'm going to go to, in the task pane right here, I'm going to go to task pane, select task, and then you see right here, very simple, create, edit sessions. All right, so I'm going to go and click on that, put a little check mark in that box, and then you're going to click on start. When I click on start, I get the create session, the details for a new session. Anything with an asterisk has to be completed. All right, so let's talk about that session name. Let's look at the manual again. So notice it says this. Okay, right here, we're on number 4, that first bullet, session name. Name the session so that it can be easily identified, such as double time, standard time, and so on. Now remember, your room supervisor also has to be able to identify their test session because they have to do some things during the test or after the test and before the test in PA Next. All right, so I would also include in the session name, I would include the room supervisor's last name. So let's say it's standard time. Now remember, standard time and TC1 are the same time. All right, the same minutes for each test. But remember, when we talk about timing codes, when we discuss timing codes, they are specifically used with students with accommodations. So it is possible for ACT to have assigned timing code 1 for a student with accommodations. Timing code 1 would imply that the student with accommodations is going to have the same time as standard time. So if it's just a standard time session, I would just say ST for standard time. All right, that's the way I would do it. Standard time, ST. And then I would put the room supervisor's last name. And so let's say the room supervisor is, let's see, let's say it's Foreman. So let's go ahead and put Foreman, Foreman. All right, and if you want to put the room number, you can. So let's say Mr. Foreman is in room 103. All right, so I know that as a test coordinator and also as a room supervisor, I know that these students are standard time students. They're not students with accommodations. And I know that this is my session because my name is listed there. And as a test coordinator, I know that this is Foreman's session. And I know where they're located. They are located in room 103. All right, and then organization has an asterisk. Make sure your organization's name is there. Test assigned. Make sure you say ACT multiple choice. It's still searching. Let's see. Here we go. All right, scheduled date. So let's talk about that scheduled date. All right, so I'm pulling this back over. See right here, scheduled date. Right here, scheduled start date. Select the date of the session. All right, the date the session starts. If the session is for examinees testing with accommodations over multiple days, select the first date the examinees will test. So there's the scheduled start date. The scheduled start time, leave it as the default at 1 a.m. Okay? All right, so let's move this over and let's go back to the scheduled start date. So remember, you're going to put the date. If it's standard time, the date of the test. If it's accommodations over multiple days, you're going to choose that first date, that first day the test starts. So let's say it starts tomorrow, Wednesday, right? Okay. All right, and then the group type, the form group type. All right, now we're in mock administration, so there's only one thing listed. There's only one, mock administration. So you have no other choice but to use the mock administration. But when you actually go in to create your test sessions, there are going to be others listed. So this is what it says about the form group type. Select the form group type that matches the day of the week. So either Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Remember, online testing is only on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. The day of the week and the date when the session will be administered. The form group type must be a date in the future. Past dates cannot be used. Okay, so when you actually go into PA Next, make sure you use the correct form type that corresponds to the scheduled start date, right? So this and this must correspond. All right, and then leave it as 1 a.m. the start time. We're not going to do pre-caching, so leave that blank. And then at this point, if you want to, you can add students now, but I wouldn't do that because you would have to search each one individually, and you can only add one at a time. So I wouldn't do that here. I would do it at another time, and I'll show you another way to do this. All right, and then there's my session, and then I'm going to create. And I've created my session. So notice there's my session, standard time, Foreman, room 103. If I click on it, there's the information. Okay? If you need to create another session, you go and create another session. See right here? So you create a new session. So let's say I want to create timing code, let's say 6. Timing code 6. And this time, let's say it is Grimmer who's the room supervisor. And let's say that Ms. Grimmer is in lab 100. All right, so Grimmer knows which one's her session. You as a room supervisor knows that this session is Grimmer, where they're located, and that all the students in that session have timing code 6. Remember, timing code 6 is time and a half single day. Time and a half single day. And then don't forget to do all this other stuff. So we're going to choose ACT multiple choice. The start date, let's say, is Thursday. And then you would make sure that this form group type matches the day of the week and the date. Okay. Leave it as 1 a.m. and create. And so now I have 2 sessions I've created. So very simple, right? Very simple to create sessions. All right, so right now you know, as a test coordinator, you now know how to create test sessions. Just follow these steps. Okay? All right, so that was this one. Now we're going to look at how to edit a test session. So for example, let's suppose that one of the sessions I created, the room supervisor that I'm going to put in that session has changed, right? Or it could be that the date of the test has changed. So let's talk about that. So let's talk about how to edit a test session. Very simple to do. So we're going to go back into PA Next. In our case, it'll be the training. And you're going to go to testing, and you can list your sessions because I want to edit a session, right? So you're going to list your sessions. So these are all the sessions that I've created. Some have students in them already, some do not. All right, no big deal. But I want to edit one of those sessions. So let's say I want to go, see where it says TC1 Wells, timing code 1 Wells. So let's go ahead and edit that one. Now remember, timing code 1 is actually students with accommodations that have timing code 1. So sometimes we tend to think standard time is timing code 1 because they have the same time, the same minutes for each test. But these are these could be students in small group only that need that only require the same time as standard time. So just be careful. Sometimes we use those synonymously, timing code 1 or standard time. But timing code 1, there have been instances where students with accommodations were given timing code 1. All right, so let's say I want to edit this one, right? So we're talking about editing a test session. So let's go ahead and put the little check mark here. Let me go ahead and remove this one. So put a check mark here, and then I want to edit that test session. So we're going to go to the task pane and go to create edit session, right? Same place you went to create. So I'm going to go ahead and check this off. Then I'm going to just click on start and watch how simple this is. It's a very simple process. It's still turning, and there's that session I want to edit. So let's go ahead and click on it. And then let's say that I need to put in Wells for that session, I need to put the room number. All right, so let's go ahead and edit. So I'm just going to put the room number. So let's say this is room 816B. Okay, 816B. And then let's say just for our purposes that I need to change the date. So I can come back and change the date right here. So let's say I need to start on March 8th. So now it's on March 8th, but remember, be very careful. That date must match this, because remember when I say this, I meant the form group type, because remember, this is what it says in the instructions in the manual. It says this. Let me go to it and show you. It says form group type. Select the form group type that matches the day of the week and the date when that session will be administered. So it must match the day of the week. So I went from Wednesday to Tuesday. So that right here must match the Tuesday and the date. So March 8th. Okay? All right, so don't forget to do that. And I already have some students in there, but I just wanted to show you how to edit. And then remember, when you change anything here, make sure you save. So I can save here or I can save here. It does not matter. And now changes are saved. And so notice the session name has changed, the date has changed, and then at some point in the actual PA Next, the form group type will change as well. And if you need to at this point, you can go ahead and create a session. All right, you can do that now also, because there's the button, right? Create a test session. Okay. All right, so now you know how to create a test session, and you also know how to edit a test session. So now what we're going to do is we're going to learn how to delete a test session. So let's talk about how to delete a test session. Now, be very careful. It says this. If you're going to delete a test session where there are students already in it, you can only delete a test session if you remove all examinees from a test session before it is deleted. And so see, remove examinees from a test session on page 44 for instructions. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go back and find a session that I want to delete, but there are already students in it. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. So these are the sessions, and notice some of the sessions have students and some do not, right? Notice the very last one, the one that says TC6 Grammar Lab 100. There are no students in there, and it says not prepared. So since there are no students in there and it says not prepared, I can delete that session right away. So let's go ahead and show you how to do that. So remember, you can only delete if there are no students. And the fact that it says not prepared means that it's not in progress and it's not stopped. All right, so not prepared, I can delete as long as there's no students in there. So this is the simplest kind where there are no students and it says not prepared. So put a little check mark. Watch how simple this is. Go to the task pane up here. Go to the task pane. And then you're going to click on, well, now you can just delete. Remember, there are no students, right? So just click on delete sessions and then start. And then it's going to ask you, let's see, still turning. Still turning. Okay, it's going to ask you one last time. Are you sure you want to delete this session? Because it says this action is not reversible. All right, I'm going to say yes. I want to delete it. So go ahead and delete. And then changes saved. No session selected. Exit task. And notice Grammar is no longer in my list. Okay. Now, what if I want to delete the one that says Wells Room 817B that has 4 students in it? Okay, so that's separate. I mean, that's different. For example, watch. I'm going to click on this, and then I'm going to go back to the task pane, and I'm going to click on Delete Sessions. Notice what happens. What happens if I click on Delete Sessions? Watch. Go to Start, and then let's see. Well, let's see what happens. Okay. So look at what it says. TC1 room 817 session cannot be deleted because it has students assigned. So right away, see it says error in saving changes. So before, let me get exit. Before you can delete a session, those 4 students have to be removed. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So I want to delete this session. I need to remove those 4 students. So let's say I'm going to put those 4 students in another session. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete this session out of my list. Okay, so you're going to put a check mark. You're going to go to the task pane. You're going to click on Show Students because you got to remove those students, right? So you need to show the students. Show Students. Okay, now notice there aren't any students listed, right? Okay, so and right here it says add a specific section to the left or search all sessions in the training 2022 below. It's just right here. That's what I want to remove students from. So click on this. Watch what happens when I click on this. Okay, now the students are showing up. Okay, I want to remove all the students, right? So let's just check the top box. All those students are checked off. Okay, once all the students are checked off, I am now going to go back to the task pane. And then I'm going to click the one that says remove students from sessions. So if I click on remove students from sessions and then start right here, and it's going to ask you one last time, are you sure you want to do this? And yes, I do. So I'm going to click on the top box. It checks off all of them. And then I'm going to click remove. And when I click remove, there are no student test assignments selected. Changes were saved. And I'm going to show you something. I'm going to go to exit task. And notice, see TC Wells right here? No students are there anymore. Those 4 students are gone. The session's still there, but the students are no longer there. All right. So right now I haven't deleted the session, right? All I've done was I removed the students from that session. All right. So I want to show you something else. So when I go back to testing and to the sessions, notice that TC Wells is still a session. So if I wanted to, I could add other students to that session. there aren't any. Remember, I took them out, right? There were 4. They're all gone. But I don't want to do that. I just want to delete that session. So now that there are no students in it, I can now go to, remember, you got to check it off though. You got to go to task pane, and now I can delete sessions. And then start is going to ask you one last time, are you sure you want to delete the session? Because this action is not reversible. Yes, I do. Click on delete, and changes were saved. Go ahead and exit task, and notice TC Wells, whatever it was, TC6, I think, is no longer there. Okay, so now you now know how to create a test session, edit a test session, delete a test session, and delete a test session if there are no students in it, and you know how to delete a test session if there are students in it by first removing the examinees from a test session. Now, what I want to do is talk about how to assign examinees to a test session. Now that you've created the test session, you edited the test session, you now need to assign examinees to the test session. Now, let's talk about this one important thing. You need to determine which examinees to assign to a test session. You need, for each of those examinees, you need to determine which ones are standard time, which ones are accommodations with timing code 1, timing code 2, timing code 3, timing code 5, and there are 2 timing code 5s, timing code 6, and timing code 7, right? Okay, so you have to determine which examinees to assign to a test session. All right, so let's read this. All examinees in a test rooms, in a sitting, test as a group. They must receive the same verbal instructions, work on the same tests, and take breaks at the same time. Assign examinees to separate test sessions accordingly. Tests will not be scored, or scores will be canceled if this policy is violated. For example, the following may not test together in the same room or in the same sitting. The first bullet, standard time and any accommodations timing code, including timing code 1. So for example, you cannot put standard time with timing code 2 or timing code 3 and so on. Even timing code 1. Standard time and those students with accommodations that have timing code 1, even though they're the same minutes, you cannot put them together. Okay? So it's very important. It is very important you know for accommodations, you know which ones have which timing codes. All right. So standard time students test with only standard time students. Timing code 2 students test with only timing code 2 students. Timing code 3 students test only with timing code 3 students. We very rarely have a student with accommodations that have timing code 1. Usually it's timing code 2, 3, 5, 6, or 7. All right. You can, and notice the second bullet, you cannot test with in the same room different timing codes, different accommodations. Those who must test individually, including breaks as needed, online format, and paper format. Use the accommodations and support roster to correctly assign examinees testing with accommodations. So that's important. Make sure you go to PA Next, and this was discussed in a previous meeting, and there's a video on that on how to run the accommodation support roster or other operational reports. So make sure you know how to do this, because that's going to help you with determining which examinees to assign to a test. All right, so this one right here says use the accommodations and support roster to correctly assign examinees testing with accommodations. If an examinee needs to be moved from one session to another, do not use the Move Examinees Between Test Sessions task on the Session Select Task menu. Instead, remove the examinee from the currently assigned session and assign the examinee to a different session. Note, when you move the student to a different test session, the student authorization ticket from the previous session will not work, and a new one must be printed. So again, that note. So if you move a student from one session to another, you must print out the new authorization ticket. The old one will no longer work. Okay? All right. So that's determining which examinees to assign to a test session. Now let's go ahead and assign examinees to a test session. So let's go ahead and do that. All right. So when assigning examinees to a test session, you're going to go to testing and make sure you went to the accommodations roster to get the list of students with accommodations and their timing codes. That's important. Once you do all that, then you're going to go to testing. Then you can go to sessions, right? Okay. And then let's say I want to put students in the session that's called ST, which is standard time, Foreman room 103. Notice right now there are no students in that session, and it says not prepared. All right, so I'm going to click on this right here. Click on Foreman's name, his session name. Then I'm going to go to the task pane right here. Click on the task pane, and you're now going to click on Show Students in Sessions and Control Sessions. All right, so you can click on this. So you got to click on the session list right here. You got to click on Foreman's name. Notice it's not prepared, and there are no students. So now you got to put some students in there. Okay, so I kind of messed this up, but basically what this is saying is you're finding students in this list. Well, there's none, right? There's none. So what you got to do is once you click on this session list, notice there's nothing in there, right? So now you're going to go to the task pane. That was where I forgot to go. You're going to go to the task pane, and then you're going to click on Add Students to Sessions right here. So click on Add Students to Session, then go and Start. All right. So then you're going to go and Start, and then you're going to click on the session name right here, and then this is what I wanted to do. So you can search by the last name, or you can click on that down arrow and click on Show All Results. And these are the students that are at your school that are not in a test session. So you can choose from one of those. So let's say it's this one, let's say it's this one, and this one, and this one, and keep on going. And notice there are multiple pages, so you have to go through each of those pages if you do this way. Or if you know the last names, you can quickly search that way and add as you go. So I'm going to go ahead and click on those 4 students, and I'm going to add. And notice that I now have, okay, it says right here, changes saved, right? So I'm going to exit. I'm going to show you something. And so now notice those are the 4 students I just added into Foreman's session. All right, and then I'm going to go back. I want to show you something else. I'm going to go back to testing, sessions, and notice Foreman right here now has 4 students. So let's go over this again. So let's go to Veal right here. Let's go through this process. I know I messed up in one little part, so let's do that again. So I want to add some students in Veal's class, right? In Veal's session. I'm going to click on this. Then I'm going to go to the task pane. I'm going to go to Show Students in Sessions and Control Sessions. All right, Veal's test session shows up. Click on it. Notice no students, right? So then I need to add students. So to add students, you're going to go to the task pane, and then you're going to click on Add Students to Sessions. So click that, click on Start, find the session right here. You want to add students to this session. Click on Veal. And if you know the last names, you can search the last name, right? You can search the last name. Or if you want to just use a drop-down menu, click on Show All Results. You can do it that way. Although keep in mind that right now I have 497 available students. I would have to go through each of those pages to find them. All right. So it may be easier just to go ahead and do this by last name. Let's say you have 15 students. It won't be that bad. Just search last name. Once you find the last name, let's say it's a last CI, and then search. Notice there it is. Click on it and add. And then you go to the next one. So let's say it's last AB. Search. Oops, there wasn't no last AB, so let's find another last. Let's say last AO. There it is. Click on it. Add. So now there should be 2 students in that session. So you could do that way as well. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and exit. When I exit, notice those are the 2 students I just added right here. And if I go back to testing and sessions, notice that in Veal session at the bottom, there are now 2 students. All right, so that's how you're going to add students to a test session. Now, let me show you something. So remember this little part here that read, if an examinee needs to be moved from one session to another, do not use the Move Examinee Between Test Sessions task on the Session Select Task menu. Instead, remove the examinee from the currently assigned session and assign the examinee to a different session. All right, now remember, when you move the student to a different test session, you must print out the new student authorization ticket. So the previous authorization ticket, the authorization ticket from the previous session, will not work anymore. All right, so let's talk about this little part. So I'm going to move an examinee from one session, and let's say we need to put them in another session. So let's just see how to do that. All right, so let's suppose I want to remove a certain student from DOZOC room 121 right here. So I'm going to click on this. So remember, I need to remove that student, right? So click on it, go to select task, to the task pane, select task. We're going to go to show students in sessions and show sessions. This is what they were talking about. Do not use add remove students in sessions right here. You're going to go here. So click on this and click on DOZOC, and those are the 5 students. So let's say this is the one I want to remove. So I'm going to go ahead and list the student code right here. So the student code is, I'm going to go ahead and write it down. The student code is 506397182. Or you can do last name, because you could use that as well. Last name AT. All right, and so I need to remove that student from this list, from this session, and I need to add him to another session. So we're going to click the little box, check mark, go here now, and this is where you're going to click on Remove Student from Session, right here, just like you did before. Click on this, Start, and then we got to find the one I want to remove. So that was, let's see which one. It was this one right here, with 182 right here. So this is the one I want to remove. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and remove, and that student has been removed. So I'm going to go ahead and exit task right here. Okay, so notice there are now 4 students in this session. What I want to do now is I want to take that student I just removed and I want to put him in a new session. All right, so then I'm going to go back to my testing, go back to sessions, and then let's say I want to put that student in, let's say Banga, TC1 Banga. So I'm going to click on TC1 Banga, and I'm going to go to select task, and then I'm going to click on show students in sessions and control sessions. I'm going to click on Banga right here, and then these are the 4 students in Bangas. I want to then go to select task, and then I'm going to add student right here. Click on start, click on Banga, and then last name. I think the last name was LASTAT. And then that's the one right here, 7182. So we click on this, and I'm going to add, and changes were saved, or changes saved, exit task. And now notice in Banga's class right here, session list, Banga, the student is now added. Okay, and so that is it. So that is the information on setting up test sessions. All right, if you have any questions, just make sure you ask, make sure you get help. That will be the end of this video.